episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. So, yeah, we have a lot of stuff to get through today, so let's just get right into it. First up, we got to look at The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We got a gameplay demonstration, and I have to say, this gameplay demonstration kind of sold me. So it started off with letting us know that the way we get up to the Sky Islands is that I guess like fragments of it will come down, and then we'll like be able to walk up to those fragments, and we'll be able to use this new ability called like Rewind, as you can see here, which will then let us to like jump on top of it and rewind time on that rock to go back up to the island. That sounds dope. And then as we get further into it, you can glide onto the islands. And they showed off this new fuse ability, which is like insane. So basically, you'll be able to fuse seemingly like two of every item together. So like he fuses the stick to the boulder, which makes it a more powerful weapon, as well as makes it more durable. So I don't know, like this is one of those things that just seems like it has endless potential. And it's just like it seems insane. And then he also shows off that you can you can grab a stick and fuse it with a pitchfork to make an even bigger thing. It just, I don't know, it looks really stupid and goofy, but it also just looks really fun and creative. So I think it looks awesome. And then you can even stick stuff to arrows. So you can stick like ice things to arrows to make ice arrows. You can stick an eyeball to an arrow, which will then allow it to home into an enemy. So yeah, man, just the potential creativity of it all just looks really awesome. And then yeah, you can stick a mushroom to your shield. You make like and that's like a puff shroom, I think it was called, and so it'll create like a cloud of gas that will allow you to like walk behind it and sneak up to it, sneak up behind the enemy. Stick a wooden log to a stick to make an even powerful weapon. It just looks cool, man. And then here we see that you're even able to fuse like non-items together, so like logs of wood to make a boat, like attach fans to it, which will allow you to like get across lakes and stuff. Like the creativity that it seems like you're going to be able to exert over the game, just it looks absolutely insane. Yeah, they showed off that the vehicles that they showed off in the trailers beforehand were all made in the game. Like they don't come pre-made. You actually have to fuse items together to make stuff like that. So that looks really cool. Oh yeah, and then they showed off the new Ascend ability. So you'll be able to like ascend through any ceiling. And they show off that this even applies to mountains. So like if you walk into a cave, you'll be able to worm your way through a mountain and come up to the top of it. That's crazy. Like that's just like my mind is breaking even trying to think about like fine-tuning the game to like build it around that one mechanic. I mean it seems crazy. It truly does seem insane. And then they showed off that enemies can also have fused items. So you can see he has a stick with like a plank of wood, and so that basically lets him like throw a gust of wind. And yeah, then they show Link getting thrown off of one of the Sky Islands, and you're able to seamlessly go from the Sky Islands to the mainland, and it's just like a seamless sort of transition, which it just seems awesome, man. Like the verticality of this game seems absolutely insane. And I think it looks awesome. Like my main not fear, but my main worry about the game was that it was just gonna feel like a Majora's Mask. What Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time. It's gonna feel like that to Breath of the Wild, which I wouldn't have necessarily had a problem with. But the main issue is that they took like 6 years to develop the game, and so I just haven't been sure of like, well, what exactly is like the hook here? Like, why did you take so long to develop it? And when I look at all of this stuff, I think it makes sense, man. like the amount of fine tuning that they had to have done for this game seems unimaginable. So I am officially, I mean, I've been hyped for the game, but now I'm like officially at a point where it's like, oh, I want to play this game like right now. I need to play it, which I haven't necessarily felt like about it. So yeah, I absolutely can't wait. All right, next up, we got some Captain America 4 set photos, showing off Betty Ross, and some other stuff. So, also, this might be like spoilery, kind of like there are some assumptions that you can make about these pictures. So, I don't know. Spoiler alert, I guess. Although I kind of showed it. Whatever. So here, where are the pictures? There you are. So here we see. Let me actually. Just gonna. Well, okay, whatever. I'll just leave it there. Never mind. I'm just working my way through OBS. Okay, whatever. Okay, here we have Sam Wilson, with like another soldier lady, and they're at a funeral. It seems like, right? They're in a graveyard, and he also has a sling. So I don't know. This tells me that maybe somebody dies in this movie, and he's at their funeral because he's wearing a sling. And just normally speaking, whenever you see like your hero wearing like a sling, that means that the final battle is done. They're recovering, and you're at the end of the movie. But maybe not. I don't know. So yeah. Then we get pictures of Betty Ross. She's also at the funeral. Like, this is kind of making people wonder if maybe General Ross, who the character Harrison Ford is playing, does he die? Because if you remember, Betty Ross is his daughter. So I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see. And yeah, seeing Betty Ross in these images is also just like it made me realize it's like, oh yeah, Captain America 4 is like is kind of sort of an Incredible Hulk sequel, because it's like that entire cast is coming back, like the villain of it is the leader, which we'll actually get to images of him later. Like the villain is one of the characters from Incredible Hulk. So it's just interesting that this movie is kind of shaping up to be an Incredible Hulk sequel. I don't have a problem with that. Some people are like, "Oh, they're not letting Sam Wilson stand on his own. He's not. They're just reusing old characters." And it's like, Sam Wilson is still the main character of the story. Like, who cares what villains he's fighting? He is gonna be the main character of the story. So I don't know. I find the criticisms of it to be weird because we haven't even seen a trailer yet, so we don't even know how any of this is gonna play out. But moving on to the next story. Jason Momoa is seemingly confirming that Aquaman will remain in the DCEU. Let's see what he says. So, what am I doing? Okay. Okay. Peter's my producer. Oh, so yeah, this is a quote from Momoa. Peter's my producer, and is a dear friend, Momoa revealed in an interview with Total Film magazine. I absolutely think Aquaman will be involved in the DCU. It's on, bro. There's no one bigger than Aquaman, the actor who first played the Protector of the Deep in 2016's Batman v whatever. Also hype sequel revealing there will be. Okay, who cares? I hope people are excited to see the new one. It's fun. I really enjoy doing comedy. Okay, interesting that he calls it a comedy. There's some really funny stuff with Patrick Wilson. I really adore him. We had a great time working together. It's like we're brothers. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in this one. So, honestly, I have no idea what's happening here. Like, technically speaking, with what he says, he's technically not confirming that he's coming back to play Aquaman in the DCU, because he could just be saying, yeah, there's going to be an Aquaman in the DCEU. Like, he never said that it was going to be him. It could be like a reboot. It could be a recasted actor. But it's like, would he excitedly talk about it if it wasn't him? I don't know. I don't know. Because, I mean, there was that interview, or not that interview, but there was that story that we talked about where Jason Momoa came out of a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and he was like super excited about it. But a lot of people kind of thought that it might have been a meeting about Lobo, not Aquaman. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird quote. Also, kind of weird that he describes Aquaman 2 as a comedy. Because I mean, the first one was pretty lighthearted, but we'll see how that plays in theaters because a lot of people are kind of over comedy in comic book movies. It seems like. So I don't know. It's like, will Aquaman 2 be like the remnant, one of the remnants of the direction that comic book movies were going in that people aren't too excited about? So we'll have to see. But also, just another interesting thing to point out, he says that there's no one bigger than Aquaman. If we're talking about DC, he's not wrong. He's technically not wrong. Aquaman is the only DCEU movie to have made $1 billion. That does need to be pointed out. Okay? Man of Steel didn't make $1 billion. Batman v Superman didn't make $1 billion. Wonder Woman didn't make $1 billion. Justice League didn't make $1 billion. Suicide Squad didn't make $1 billion. Joker made $1 billion, but that's not in the DCEU. That's in the DC multiverse. It's Elseworlds, you know? So he's not wrong when he points that out. As wild as it is to think about, technically speaking, when we're talking about box office, Aquaman is bigger than Batman and Superman. Now, will this next one make $1 billion? I mean, we'll have to wait and see if it's good or not, but it's just something to point out. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Okay, let's get into the Jonathan Majors drama. So we're gonna go through some facts, or I don't know why I said it like that. We're just gonna go through some stories. Okay. So it says here, per ABC 7, the actor called 911 over his concerns regarding his partner before Majors was arrested on March 25th. So it's come out in this past week that Jonathan Majors was actually the one that called the police. So, you know, that is an interesting thing to point out. And then if we come over here, so then just another development on it. Also, the Army pulled Jonathan Majors ads. Apparently, they were having some ads running with Jonathan Majors, but they pulled them in the wake of the investigation. So there is an effect on Jonathan Majors, although I don't know that. I doubt that. I mean, Jonathan Majors still got paid for those ads, so you know. Okay, and then this is the big one. So Jonathan Majors' attorney released text messages between him and the woman involved. So let's just read through that. All right. I think you guys should be able to see this. Okay. So this is something that the woman texted him after the event. It looks like, please let me know that you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. They just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She ensured this to me. I know you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care. She promised all will be relayed. Okay, and then before we get too deep into this, let's read through a bit here. So then this article also says that apparently Marvel Studios, they're still looking at what they're going to do about Jonathan Majors. So it says here, according to industry insider Jeff Snyder of the Hot Mic podcast, Marvel Studios executives are deliberating the next steps to take following Majors' highly publicized arrest, which led to the actor being arraigned on assault and harassment charges. Evidently, the company has yet to reach a decision on the matter. I've heard that Marvel hasn't made any decisions regarding Jonathan Majors, but they've met with or spoken to his agent to discuss potential options going forward, Snyder says. So Marvel has not done anything as of yet. Here's my take on the whole thing. I mean, if what this text is relaying is accurate, I mean, it does say, she does confirm that they had a fight and that he laid his hands on her, like seemingly hit her and strangled her over her trying to grab his phone. Now, legally speaking, I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an idiot. I don't know how the law works. So like, legally speaking, is that going to count as self-defense? I don't really know. But, bro, if you're Marvel in this position, you really think that as far as public opinion is concerned, now maybe this is a double standard that society has, sure, but we can have that conversation. But as far as just PR, marketing, the way it's going to look, optics, I'm talking about here, that your leading actor for phase 5 and 6 and whatever, your main guy beat a woman because she grabbed his phone. I don't know if you can get away from that story. I don't think you can. I mean, and listen, like, is there an argument here that he was acting in self-defense? I mean, maybe I don't know that I would make that argument. I'm like, honestly, I'm still not. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like when there's like that big of a power imbalance, it's like, you know what? No. I don't think I would say that. I don't know. Like, when there's that big of a power imbalance, right? Jonathan Majors versus this woman who's presumably much weaker than him. Like, sure, she grabbed your phone, but you had to hit her and strangle her. No. You know what? No. Now that I think about it, I mean, I would have to side no. Like, that's not okay. Now I don't know what the law is gonna say. I don't know if technically that's gonna count as self-defense somehow, or like protecting your property. I have no idea. But just for me personally, yeah, no. The more I think about it, I don't think I'm okay with that. And yeah, I think if I'm gonna make an official prediction, I don't think we see I don't think we see Jonathan Majors as king again. Beyond Loki season 2, I should stress. Hold on, I'm sorry. My thing is messed up. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's how they're gonna handle it. And people keep on comparing this to the Ezra Miller situation, and people are like, "Oh, the Warner Brothers isn't doing anything about Ezra Miller," and it's like, listen, the Flash still has to come out. Like, Ezra Miller is in the Flash. We don't know what Warner Brothers is gonna do about Ezra Miller yet. I don't think we're gonna see Ezra Miller as the Flash yet, but we don't know yet because they're waiting to make any sort of decisive action until the Flash comes out. So. And it's going to be kind of the same thing, I imagine, with this whole situation, where I don't think we're going to really know what Marvel is going to do with Jonathan Majors until, more stuff comes out, right? Because technically maybe there's going to be some stuff that comes out that exonerates him further. But we also have to wait and see until Loki season 2 comes out, because presumably Jonathan Majors is going to have like a major part to play in Loki season 2. So I don't think Marvel wants to come out and announce that, oh, Jonathan Majors is no longer going to be Kang because he's a domestic abuser. Also, come watch Loki season 2. Like, I don't think they're going to want to do that. So my prediction is going to be that yes, I don't think that I think Jonathan Majors will be recast. I don't think he's going to continue in this role. Just judging on all the information that we have right now, but I also don't think we're really going to know for sure until Loki season 2 comes out. So that's kind of my take on the whole thing. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Also, I do really, I again need to stress that I am A, an idiot, B, not a lawyer. So this is obviously a much more serious discussion than what I'm really capable of providing. All I can give you is my opinion and my perspective on the whole thing. But yeah, we'll see. Let's move on to the next story. All right, so Vincent D'Onofrio is apparently promising a violent superhero show. So this is what he had to say. It was a concern of mine too because the Netflix show was so raw and brutal, you know. D'Onofrio told Newsweek, but then I started to look at what Marvel's been doing lately with their series and the direction that they want to go in. The Kingpin actor added, all I can say is that if you look at the most brutal stuff that Marvel is doing, which is few and far between, but it's there, it will be there for us too. So, it's an interesting thing to note because, first of all, I feel like that's the closest they've come to confirming that this is not going to be rated TVMA, this new Daredevil show. Because it's like he didn't come out and say, "Oh, don't worry, nah, man, we're going all in, we're raw dogging it like we did with Daredevil." That was a poor choice of words. I don't know why I said that. Pause. No, I don't care. You can think I'm gay. I genuinely don't care. But um, he's not saying that. Oh yeah, we're doing what we did with the Netflix show. What he's saying is, well, we're not going to do what we did with the Netflix show. We're actually going to do something that's more in line with what Marvel has been doing, which has not been R-rated stuff. So this is kind of like the biggest indication to me that we're actually not. I don't think this is going to be TVMA anymore. At least just judging by this. And then let me see. Actually, did he say anything else here? Oh, he also discussed the nature of violence. Okay. I think one of the things that the fans loved with the original show was that it wasn't just violence to be violent. It was at times a bit shocking to see, but it was all based on emotional stuff, from Charlie's part in mind. These are two very emotional characters caught up in this life of theirs, so it will answer all of that for the fans. We will bring it on, and we will have emotional violence as well as just out-and-out physical violence. Okay, so yeah, so let's grapple with what he said there. So he says that their show is going to be more in line with what we've seen on the Marvel, what Marvel has been doing recently. So, I mean, when we think to the more recent stuff that Marvel has done that's been pretty violent, I mean, you have like Moon Knight, which definitely had some scenes of sort of graphic violence. You know, I would point to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, if you can honestly, I feel like if you can have that scene with like, with what was his name? Thunderbolts. What's the guy? The Inhuman character? I don't remember what his name was, but like when Wanda exploded his head, and you saw like brain matter. I think you saw brain matter come out of his ear. I'm like, if you can do that, I mean, I think you'll be fine with Daredevil. Honestly, if you can do that and it's still rated PG-13. I'm kind of not too worried. And then we also can look at like Werewolf by Night. That had some pretty graphic violence. I mean, that even had like blood spurt. But I think the main difference between Werewolf by Night is that it was in black and white, which I think gives you more leeway to do certain things. But yeah. But also, I will say, just to play devil's advocate here, when we look at the current state of Marvel Studios, I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to assert that they might actually just go ahead and give Daredevil Born Again the mature rating. And here's why. Because first of all, Marvel Studios is doing R-rated stuff. They're doing an R-rated Deadpool 3. I mean, you might go, oh, well, but that's Deadpool. That's you can't do Deadpool if it's not R-rated. So we're just going to let Ryan Reynolds do his thing. But then you got to look at Marvel Zombies. That's going to be rated mature. Oh, well, that's an animated thing. It's not even really in the main Marvel continuity. It's a multiverse story. So, it's like, okay. Well, if you go on Disney Plus right now, you can watch mature rated Daredevil. You can watch mature rated Luke Cage. You can watch mature rated Punisher. You can watch mature rated Jessica Jones. You can watch Iron Fist. You can watch The Defenders, and it's like, oh well, but that wasn't made by Marvel Studios. But it's like, okay. So you're really gonna tell me it's like, oh no, we can't have an R-rated Daredevil Born Again because little Timmy might watch it and be like, little Timmy can't watch R-rated Daredevil. But anyways, over here we have R-rated Daredevil. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, it would just make no sense, in my opinion, for Disney to not want to make Daredevil Born Again R-rated while still having an R-rated Netflix Daredevil show on their service. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that Vincent D'Onofrio's comments here are indicative of this show not being maturely rated. But I will also just like to point out that it wouldn't really make sense for them not to just go ahead and do it, in my opinion. So, anyways, yeah, let's move on to the next story. I think it's still related to Daredevil Born Again. Oh yeah, okay. Let's move on to this here. All right. So Daredevil Born Again is apparently already working on season 2. Vincent D'Onofrio also, I think it was in the same interview. He says, by the second season, there are gigantic payoffs. In the first season too, but I can't say much about that. But the fans are going to really get what they want. It's really quite cool to be doing it, the actor said. We've only just started shooting. I think we're a couple weeks in, and the show is going to be very, very different than the Netflix show. And it's so exciting because what we're doing is quite something. So yeah, he's already alluding to a season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. If I remember actually, back when they announced Daredevil Born Again, I don't remember what convention they announced it at, but Kevin Feige also mentioned, I think when he announced it, he said that they are doing an 18-episode first season of Daredevil. So even back then, they kind of confirmed that there would be multiple seasons. But yeah, but it's cool that this far into it, Vincent D'Onofrio was also talking about that. And then Vincent D'Onofrio also says that he believes Kingpin will fight Spider-Man. Let's read the exact quote. Okay. I have a strong feeling, and I've said this since I started the Netflix show, that eventually I'm going to kick Spider-Man's ass, D'Onofrio said at this weekend's GalaxyCon. So I guess it should be noted that this isn't by no means a confirmation of anything. But it's interesting that he's openly talking about it. Because I think it's one thing to be working on the net, to not be in the MCU, and to say, oh yeah, I want to be, I want to face off against the most popular superhero of all time. I feel like it's one thing to say that. Hold on, I'm gonna reset my camera. I think it's one thing to just say that, but considering the fact that Vincent D'Onofrio is now in the MCU, I don't know. I think it's interesting that he would say something like that. But it should be noted that this is by no means a confirmation of any sort, so take that with a grain of salt. All right. Next story. Thunderbolts has gotten a new writer. So, so ahead of the April 6th release of his Netflix dark comedy Beef, Lee Sung-jin has stepped in as screenwriter for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, taking over for Black Widow's Eric Pearson, Deadline can confirm. So yeah, I can't say, this is interesting. So I can't say that I'm too familiar with Lee Sung-jin, although I might watch that Beef show, because I watched a trailer for it, and it looked pretty interesting. But the thing is that it seems like Marvel is serious about fixing the quality of their movies, because look what they did here. I guess apparently Thunderbolts was going to be written by Eric Pearson, who wrote Black Widow, and that was obviously one of the movies that was not as well received from Phase 4, and Kevin Feige has gone and replaced the guy. So that's interesting. We also have Marvel's Fantastic Four getting a new writer. So A new writer has joined the production crew for Marvel Studios' upcoming Fantastic Four reboot. So it says Josh Friedman has succeeded previous writers Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer to pen the script for the eponymous team's Marvel Cinematic Universe debut. Prior to joining the MCU, Friedman was one of the writers for Avatar: The Way of Water and helped franchise creator James Cameron work out the details in the latter's plans for the movie. He's also the creator of Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and has worked on TV shows like Snowpiercer and Foundation. So it seems like Marvel is sort of cleaning house and really determined to up the quality of their movies, and it seems like they're taking action. So I have to say, while I'm not like super familiar with these writers, and to be honest, I was not crazy about Avatar: The Way of Water. But I've heard that Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles is actually a really good show, as is the case with Snowpiercer and Foundation. So I don't know. I'm at least happy that we're actually seeing like tangible action being taken as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is concerned. So I don't know. I do find this to be pretty promising. Okay. Now let's move on to this story. So it looks like we have a potential plot for Thunderbolts. According to the Hot Mic podcast, Thunderbolts will feature a team led by Contessa Valentina Allegra DeFontaine. That's a name. It seeks to recover adamantium from Tiamat Island. X-Men franchise fans will be familiar with adamantium as it's the metal alloy typically bonded to Wolverine's claws and skeleton. Is Tiamat Island, is that the... Let me Google this real quick. Is that the island where like the Celestial made when he came out of the Earth? I guess so. Gotcha. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, I guess that is what this is. Okay. Yeah, so basically that's a celestial that started coming out of the earth in the Eternals, and the Thunderbolts, at least according to Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic podcast. So yeah, I guess the plot of Thunderbolts is that they're being sent to the Celestial to get adamantium, which if you don't know, adamantium is sort of the metal alloy that is on Wolverine's skeleton. So this is a rumor that has been sort of talked about, for a long time, but I've never really given too much credence to it because it's come from like random sources. But I will say that the Hot Mic podcast, Jeff Snyder is on that, and he's a pretty reliable scooper. So this is the first time that I'm actually like taking it into like super consideration. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting. So it seems like we are going to see Wolverine get the adamantium in the MCU. Like, he's not going to show up as Wolverine, which also kind of tells me that, I don't know, that to me that also hints towards us seeing like the actual formation of the X-Men in the MCU as opposed to them already being there and just having been existing this entire time. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what comes from that. But yeah. Next story. Okay. But also, this report also suggests that Julia Louis-Dreyfus will appear in Captain America 4. According to trusted industry insider Jeff Snyder, Julia Louis-Dreyfus will reprise her role as Valentina in New World Order, ahead of the character's major role in Thunderbolts. I've heard that Val, that's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I've heard that she's in the movie, Snyder said on the Hot Mic podcast. Louis-Dreyfus first appeared in a bunch of stuff. So, honestly, this is like... Yeah, you could have guessed this, to be honest, because Captain America 4 is a movie that Julia Louis-Dreyfus would appear in anyways. Like this really isn't that big of a scoop, but it is interesting to point out. I would imagine that yeah, that there would be some conflict between Sam Wilson and Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her formation of the Thunderbolts, right? Kind of like how Batman doesn't really like the fact that the Suicide Squad exists. I'd be kind of interested and like I would imagine that there's going to be some conflict in regards to that. Maybe not in Captain America 4 necessarily, but like going further on in the MCU. So yeah, we'll see what comes of that. Okay, next we have some pictures of Harrison Ford and Tim Blake Nelson on the Captain America set. So yeah, this is Tim Blake Nelson. He is the leader. He was the leader in the Incredible Hulk. Here he is. And here we have Harrison Ford as General Ross. So some people are upset that he doesn't have a mustache, but I would imagine that they probably asked Harrison Ford if he could put on a mustache, and Harrison Ford said, "No, I will not do that." And then they said, "Fair enough, Mr. Ford. We're just gonna rewrite our script." But yeah, I don't know. Then they also show a picture of Tim Blake Nelson's hand, which is green. I don't know what that means necessarily. But I guess let's look up his character just so that we know what he's supposed to look like. Leader Marvel. Yeah, so he's supposed to have like a big head, but he is green, so I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see like what he ends up looking like in live action, but obviously like Tim Blake Nelson isn't gonna have a big head in the like just on set. So I imagine that a lot of this has to do with stuff that's gonna be put in post. So we're really just gonna have to wait and see what it actually ends up looking like in the final movie. Oops, give me 1 second. I do need to take this call. My apologies. All right, I'm back. Sorry for that interruption. But let's move on to some Batman stuff. So this is coming from Deadline. Apparently, Mike Flanagan has pitched a Clayface movie. So this is a Deadline exclusive. Dr. Sleep filmmaker Mike Flanagan has pitched a feature version of Clayface over at the studio, several sources tell Deadline. However, no word on greenlight yet, and the studio has not said no. There are no offers and no deals. Though typically a DC supervillain in the Flanagan pick, should it move forward, he wouldn't be a bad guy, so we hear. Word is that Flanagan and his Intrepid Pictures partner Trevor Macy had a meeting with DC bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran. Flanagan, we understand, wasn't pitching the character to be part of Matt Reeves' DC Elseworld, the Batman 2 set for an October 3rd, 2025 release date. That said, other sources are telling us that scripts are constantly changing and that Clayface is a big addition to Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. Let's wait until the dust settles here and something moves forward. It remains to be seen whether Clayface is a connection between the Batman 2 Elseworld and Gunn and Safran's feature and series sprawling DC's Gods and Monsters Chapter 1. So, interesting. So, I have to say, I don't like. I wonder exactly how like free willy they're gonna go with this, because James Gunn has announced that, you know, they're going to have their DC universe, which is their main continuity, and then they're also going to have stuff that is outside of the DC universe be labeled as DC Elseworlds. So like, like you have like the upcoming Superman Legacy and the upcoming Brave and the Bold Batman movie. That is in the main DC universe continuity. But then in the Elseworlds, you have stuff like Joker, Folie Dieu. You have like stuff like The Batman Part 2. And that's where and so I guess but then again, like, would you want to have a Clayface movie that is like in the DC universe, but then also have Clayface be in the Batman Part 2? And then, like, would that be too confusing for people? Because I don't know. Like, I don't know how messy they want to make things. But either way, let's just look at the possibilities here. Mike Flanagan doing like a horror movie version of with Clayface. Listen, I don't care how messy it is. If Mike Flanagan comes up to you and says that he wants to do something, bro, you let Mike Flanagan do something. Because not only did he direct Doctor Sleep, he also made like The Haunting of Hill House and stuff like that. Like, the guy is one of the better creatives working in the industry today. Like, he wants to make a Clayface movie. I suggest you let him make a Clayface movie. But then also let's talk about the possibilities of Clayface being a part of the Batman Part 2. I don't like. I think people need to set their expectations. I think they need to keep them in check, because Matt Reeves has been very clear about his Batman universe being a grounded universe. I see a lot of people being like, "Yay, Clayface is going to be in the Batman Part 2." And people are expecting for it to be like the big superpowered Clayface monster version that we've seen in like cartoons and stuff. I would not expect that from the Batman Part 2. Because again, Matt Reeves has said that his universe is very grounded. I don't know that he would have a Clayface like that in his movie. So I don't know. And also apparently, and I haven't looked too deeply into it, but people pointed out that the original Clayface in the, like, when he first appeared, he actually wasn't a superpowered character. He was just a serial killer that, like, I guess wore masks. So that very well could be the Clayface that we see in the Batman Part 2. So let's just, I just suggest people calm down, settle down, and not expect too much from that. But I don't know, maybe Matt Reeves has changed his mind. Maybe he is going to have more fantastical elements in his universe. I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I'm gonna wait and see what happens. I'm not gonna get my hopes too high up for any of this. But yeah, James Gunn, let let Matt Flanagan make a movie for sure. Okay. Next story. Apparently, we have a Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse short movie, short film, I should say, coming up. So Sony Pictures Animation and Sony Pictures Imageworks will release a brand new original short film titled The Spider Within. Set in the world of the upcoming release Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the animated short will debut exclusively at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival in June. In the short, Miles Morales struggles to balance his responsibilities as a teenager, friend, and student while acting as Brooklyn's friendly neighborhood superhero. After a particularly challenging day living with these pressures, Miles experiences a panic attack that forces him to confront the manifestations of his anxiety and learn that reaching out for help can be just as brave as an act as protecting his city from evil. So I think this sounds really cool, and I have to say, as much as I love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and as much as I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I am just kind of yearning for more grounded Spider-Man stuff. It's like I don't like. I'm getting a bit tired of like the multiverse always being involved. I'm getting tired of like Spider-Man in the MCU. He was always under Tony Stark's watch. He was always being overshadowed by Tony Stark. Then we get into like No Way Home, and it's this big multiverse thing. Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. It's this big multiverse thing. I kind of just want a Spider-Man story. That's why I'm looking forward to Spider-Man 2, like Marvel's the game Spider-Man 2 so much, because I don't think that's going to have any multiverse stuff. I think it's just going to be a Spider-Man story. So, honestly, I am totally down to watch just a Miles Morales short film. Has nothing to do with the multiverse. It's just Miles Morales dealing with some kind of personal issue. That sounds awesome to me. So, yeah, I definitely am going to be looking forward to that. Okay. Next up, James Gunn is teasing some DC characters. So let's get into that here. Um, so he's teasing the Terrifics. I don't know anything about these guys, but he put out this tweet here. We'll go to it now. And yeah, so he tweeted out this picture. So apparently the Terrifics are these characters, the people in the foreground here. It's this like black dude with a lady behind him, and then there's this like bald guy here. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's like super white. And then I guess Plastic Man is on the team as well. So yeah, I don't know. That's also why I pulled up this article, because I kind of want to be explained about what it is. Um, Okay, so yeah, the DC Studios co-CEO shared the image on Twitter, which features the superhero team's primary members: Leader Mr. Terrific, Phantom Girl, Plastic Man, and Metamorpho. The team has long been considered DC's version of Marvel Comics' Fantastic Four, with the above lineup sharing similarities in name, personality, and abilities with Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, and the Thing, respectively. Oh, okay, so yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting. I don't know anything about these guys, but I mean, yeah, James Gunn isn't just gonna like tweet this out here. I mean that, like, I think it's safe to assume that these characters are going to be involved in something. So will it be their own movie? Will they just show up in somebody else's movie? We shall have to wait and see. All right. Next up, Disney fires controversial Marvel chairman Ike Perlmutter. So let's read this here. Per the New York Times, Perlmutter learned the news on Wednesday. Oh, wait, sorry. Disney has fired Marvel's Entertainment's controversial chairman Ike Perlmutter to cut costs after his failed attempt to shake up the company's board. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm not gonna get deep into this, but there was like a sort of a coup attempt by like one of like the stakeholders in Disney that wanted to like take over, I think, Bob Chapek's job or something like that. And yes, I remember that Ike Perlmutter was involved in all of that. Interesting. Per the New York Times, Perlmutter learned the news on Wednesday morning by phone. According to the report, Disney decided to fold Marvel Entertainment, a separate entity from Marvel Studios that focuses on consumer products, into larger business units in the company. This comes anonymously from two Disney executives that agreed to discuss the matter. This comes days after Disney began laying off approximately 7,000 employees to improve Disney's financial gains with a $5.5 billion cut. So I don't think that this necessarily has all that much to do with how Ike Perlmutter has been operating as president of Marvel Entertainment. I honestly do buy that. Yeah, they're just trying to cut costs. If they felt that they can fold Marvel Entertainment into their other, into their other like companies and sections within Disney, then yeah, maybe it just doesn't make sense for Ike Perlmutter to stay on when we're folding this into some other thing. So honestly, I don't know that it necessarily has much to do with Ike Perlmutter's actions, but let's read through some of those actions anyways. So Perlmutter has a long history of controversies at Marvel spanning the last decade. In particular, his repeated confrontations with Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige have gained significant media attention. as Perlmutter attempted to have the CEO fired over disagreements about the cost of Doctor Strange. The resulting tension led to Feige's gaining control of Marvel Studios and Perlmutter's loss of oversight of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films in 2015 and the company's television pursuits in 2019. So yeah, I remember this back in the day how Marvel, I guess Kevin Feige and Ike Perlmutter were sort of equals back in the day, but because of their like tensions, Bob Iger basically said, "Okay, Kevin Feige, you're in charge of movies. Perlmutter, you're in charge of like the other stuff." So that was a pretty big deal. And then apparently also, I didn't know about this next bit. Ike Perlmutter expressed resistance to diversity in MCU films, pushing back against Black Panther and Captain Marvel because he believed that no one would be interested in a black or woman hero. Feige confirmed these reports in 2019, stating that Perlmutter's resistance to inclusion played a significant role in Feige's gaining control of Marvel Studios and the removal of the former chairman's control. As recently as February 2023, Disney CEO Bob Iger said that Perlmutter still resents Feige and his inability to out the Marvel Studios head. So there's obviously a bunch of drama there, but I honestly don't know that the firing has anything to do with that drama. I buy that it's just a cost-cutting thing, so yeah, well, we'll see how or if that affects stuff relating to Marvel in the future. Okay. Next up, Samuel L. Jackson is teasing some stuff about Secret Invasion. Which, by the way, we are going to be getting a Secret Invasion trailer sometime later today, so watch out. I will be doing a reaction video to that, so get your asses ready, why don't you? Okay. So he had this to say about Rhodey in an interview with Vanity Fair. This is a different kind of Rhodey, a political animal, and not, a guy who has a special suit, he explained. He's the president's right-hand man in this, so he's the guy that makes a lot of decisions, some good, some bad. Dermot Mulroney is set to be part of the cast as President Ritson before Harrison Ford portrays his successor, former Secretary of State Thaddeus Ross, in Captain America: New World Order and Thunderbolts. That was an interesting thing because I was kind of like, in my mind, I was just kind of thinking, I was like, okay, while I was reading that, I was like, oh wait, is Harrison Ford going to be in Secret Invasion? But they kind of spoiled that there, that I guess there's going to be some other dude that's the president in Secret Invasion, and then something's going to happen to him, whether he dies or whether he turns out to be a Skrull or something that's going to lead to Thaddeus Ross becoming president. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on there. But I think it's interesting that we're going to see Rhodey be the president's right-hand man. I mean, he's always kind of played sort of a part similar to that, where, sure, he does have his suit, but he's also like a general in the military, right? So like he is also like he also is sort of like involved in politics and in the government. But yeah, I think it'll be cool to see Rhodey really be involved in the political intrigue of it all, and I assume sort of have to balance him being the president's right-hand man as well as sort of understanding what Nick Fury is doing and sort of helping him wherever he can, because that was always the balance of what he had to do between him and Tony. So yeah, I think that sounds like a really cool thing. And then we also Samuel L. Jackson also talked about why the Avengers won't be in it. He said, he says this: what he's not doing, what Nick Fury isn't doing, is calling in his super friends. So that's part of the whole dilemma, Jackson said. I mean, people want them, and he's not bringing them. As for why Nick isn't interested... Oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm dying here. I don't know what's going on with me. Okay. As for why Nick isn't interested in a bailout from the heroic supergroup, the actor said, "You'll find that out. There's a very good reason he's holding back." So that's very interesting. He says that he's holding back, as in he could get people in, but he doesn't want to get them in. I wonder if it's going to have something to do with maybe he just doesn't trust anybody at this point, and he thinks that anybody could be a Skrull. I wonder if it's something like that. I mean, obviously, the real reason is because it's hard to get like big actors in like a Disney Plus show. Um, Although now that I think about it, maybe not necessarily because I mean they Samuel L. Jackson is a big actor and he's in the show, and they did get Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk and She-Hulk, but I mean even still, it's like of the Avengers that Nick Fury had connections with, it's like Tony is dead, Steve Rogers is old, Thor is off-world, Black Widow is dead. Like the only guy that he could potentially call in would be Hulk. Um, so, well, like, but we'll see why he did or didn't do that. But it's like, cause yeah, it's honestly like, who even would he call in? I guess he could call in Carol Danvers. So yeah, yeah. Now that I think about it, that would be the character that he doesn't call in. It would be Carol, but she's also not even in Avengers, so maybe he does call in Carol. Who knows? I don't know. But but yeah, I don't know. I'm also not really somebody that gets too hung up over that stuff of like, why didn't you call in this other superhero to work to help out? And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Not everybody can be in every story or should be in every story. I honestly I don't pay too much attention to stuff like that. Okay. Um, and then he also says some other stuff about why the Skrulls turn against Nick Fury. So he also said this in that same interview. Um, yeah, so Samuel L. Jackson revealed why the Skrulls, traditionally Marvel villains, but in the MCU serve as allies, are plotting an undercover invasion of Earth. Nick had a whole Skrull spy network because they could shapeshift and go places that people couldn't go, the longtime Marvel actor explained. They kept their word, they worked for him, but he hasn't done what he said he was going to do. They want a home. So yeah, I guess part of this is that oh wait, there's more stuff. Jackson also attributed his Skrull extremist faction's agenda to long-term frustration at hiding their existence on Earth for decades in human form. They want to live like they are, he continued. They want to live in their skin. They don't want to live in ours. Jackson then revealed the names of key radicalized Skrulls in Secret Invasion, among them Kingsley Ben-Adir's revolutionary Gravik, and Emilia Clarke as Gya, the now adult daughter of Fury's Captain Marvel ally Talos. So, so yeah, I don't know who Ben Adir's. I don't know who Gravik is. I honestly don't remember who that is. But apparently, Emilia Clarke is going to be playing Talos' daughter, who is now a grown up, because she was in Captain Marvel, and now I guess she's going to be a part of like a like a faction of Skrulls or whatever. So that is all very interesting, and honestly, that seems like a really cool story of like, hey man, they like the Skrulls, like you saved them from the whoever the guys were and the bad guys in Captain Marvel, and you said that you were going to give them a home, but you never did it, and you've just been using them for your own spy stuff. And I don't know, that story sounds very fascinating to me. And yeah, so we'll see what comes of that. Again, then here we have some pictures. Ah, shoot. Sorry, I'm turning my camera back on. Don't worry about it. Okay. Here we have Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. He's in a place. Oh, what are these? I don't know what this stuff is here. I don't know if that's an Easter egg or if I'm just like, oh, symbolism, symbols, symbol. What is that from? I don't know what that means. Then we have Maria Hill. There she is. Something is not loading. Okay, there we go. There we have Maria Hill and Nick Fury. I guess they're in a bar or something. Nick Fury and Talos. Ben Mendelsohn's character. They are embraced. Are they about to make love? I don't know. Maybe. Then you have Talos and Emilia Clarke, who, as we talked about earlier, is apparently his daughter. Maybe this conversation is going to be something to the extent of, Dad, we need to ask more from Nick Fury. And then Talos is like, no, daughter, we can't ask more for reasons and stuff and things. She's like, well, I hate you, Dad. I'm gonna start an extremist faction. Fuck you. And then it's a very heartbreaking scene that this is gonna be. Then we have another picture of Emilia Clarke, look staring off into the distance. And then here's what's his face? I don't remember his name. Martin Freeman. That's the actor's name. I don't remember the character's name. But wasn't he arrested in Wakanda Forever? Yeah, he wasn't he? Yeah, I don't know what he's doing here. I don't know if it's gonna be explained that like Nick Fury breaks him out for some reason to get help. I don't know. We'll see. There we have Olivia Colman. She's playing somebody. I don't remember if they've said who she's playing. This guy, he was in one of the trailers. I think he is a Skrull. I think because I think that I think Ben Mendelsohn is like interrogating him or something, or like he goes to his he like goes to him, and then a bunch of other people in the background sort of shapeshift into him, if I remember correctly. So I think this guy's a bad guy, is what I'm saying. Then you have a Skrull here that's looking at I don't know, it looks like a female Skrull to me, and she's like looking at herself in the mirror. I wonder, is this Emilia Clarke? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I like what they were talking about earlier. Nick Fury was talking about the Skrulls just wanting to be themselves. So yeah, I don't know. This seems like a very evocative image of a Skrull, like looking at herself in the mirror and just like probably sad that she's not able to just be herself. But yeah, I don't know. I have to say, I'm getting pretty hyped for a Secret Invasion. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, we don't need to actually read this article. I don't know. Like it seems really. I hope it's gonna be good because, like the plot synopsis that we've been reading from Samuel L. Jackson, it seems pretty intriguing about Skrulls just wanting to be themselves, wanting to have a home for themselves on Earth like they were promised, and just getting kind of fed up of being used by Nick Fury and the government. It seems pretty cool. And I watched like two guys on YouTube, John Campea and Robert Meyer Burnett, and they've talked about how they've read Robert Meyer Burnett has talked about how he's read the Secret Invasion scripts, and he's talked about he has claimed that they are very good. So just based on things that I've heard from people on YouTube, it seems like at least the story that they're dealing with is a good story. So we'll just have to wait and see how it's executed. So yeah, I will be looking forward to the trailer tonight. Okay. We got one final story to talk about. So there's a new Superman animated series. It's called My Adventures with Superman. I remember all we've seen from it is this image here of like Lois Lane, I guess, like describing something to Clark, and she's kind of holding Clark close to her, and Clark is blushing. I don't know. Like, I remember we got this image about it, like, a long time ago. Oh, wait, sorry. I don't think you're able to see it. Here it is. Yeah. So we got this image a long time ago, and I thought it looked very cute. And then there's Jimmy Olsen back there. I thought it looked very cute, and I've been kind of waiting to see what came of the show. So it says here, the show was initially intended to premiere on HBO Max, but the recent restructuring at Warner Bros. Discovery has prompted many streaming series to be shopped around. Beyond My Adventures with Superman, then it says up here, yes, the Man of Steel's next cartoon outing has found a home at Adult Swim, joining the late-night primetime hours block with reruns on Toonami. So, basically, this show is going to be on Adult Swim. It seems a little weird to me. I don't know. I never realized that, or I never thought that this show was going to be, like, oriented for adults. it doesn't necessarily just evoke that to me. So I don't know. I kind of don't want this to be like a raunchy adult comedy like Harley Quinn or Velma. Like I'm kind of down for a more just wholesome little Superman cartoon about Superman and Lois. I don't need it to be like, oh, look at my dick. I'm fuck you, bitch. Like I don't need that in this show. You know? I kind of just want it to be a little wholesome little cartoon. So we'll see what comes of it, but it is going to now be on Adult Swim. Okay, that is going to be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest movie news every Sunday. I try to get it done by 11 o'clock. I was late. I try to go live by 11. I was late today. My apologies for that. I suck. But it is what it is. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought about any of the stories that we talked about today. And goodbye. Leave me alone. Stop talking to me. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Leave me alone. Bye.